After fighting a few battles and losing a limb or two, a U.S. Army veteran thinks that maybe it's time he is taken care of. Some financial help to get on track, followed by a steady job, would be nice after he gets a grip on himself and overcomes PTSD and an existential crisis accorded by a series of wars that were not meant to be his. Licking his wounds, looking back at the horrors, he wonders if the national interest has been served. He barely gets the time to compose himself that is reminded of the harsh reality that the fridge is empty. He put his ego aside and reaches out for help. He deserves it, he thinks. He should be treated better than a mercenary at least, he wonders. The people in the high offices open their doors, welcome him with grace, pin a medal on his chest, and looking deep in his eyes, say the magic words.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Words matter. Or are they just words and nothing more? I'm Abby, this is Foxtel, and today we uncover the plight of the U.S. veterans. The treatment of U.S. veterans, especially the ones with disabilities, is a complex issue that has implications for the well-being and dignity of millions of Americans who have served their country. The U.S. government appears to be doing much to honor these veterans, but the measures fail to translate into anything substantial. A simple parameter to gauge the well-being of these veterans is the suicide rate. According to a recent annual report released by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, there were 6,146 veteran suicides in 2020, which is on average 16.8 suicides per day, almost 60% greater than for non-veteran U.S. adults. This is sad because I thought they were meant to be killing the bad guys, but how come they ended up taking their own lives? Something must have gone really, really wrong here. And even more depressing is the fact that the largest group that decides to commit suicide is aged 18 to 34, who supposedly had bright prospects showered with glory and honors. Instead of looking forward to a fresh start after returning home from service, they're so hopeless that they feel life is not worth living anymore. And going further, the mental state of these veterans can be assessed by the method they chose to end their lives. An overwhelming majority of these veterans resorted to using a firearm. From 2001 to 2020, there's been an alarming rise in method-specific rates for firearm suicide mortality and suffocation suicide mortality. Now, these changes may underlie overall trends in veteran suicide, reads the VA report. Now, these figures would make more sense if they were from a war-torn, undeveloped country, but they are indeed from the world's richest economy that proudly presents itself as the savior of the world. And not just that, it is the world's top military spender. According to a fact sheet released in April 2023, the United States accounted for 39% of world military spending in 2022. Military spending by countries in the Americas totaled $961 billion in 2022, of which 91% was accounted for by the U.S. alone. I wonder where all that money is going. Certainly not in veterans' pockets. I mean, what exactly are they hiding behind the failed audit of record-high defense spending that the Pentagon has never passed even once? Looking at these facts, one wonders what went wrong. It is true that being a veteran, no matter which country one may belong to, comes with its share of burdens. But why are the rates so high in the U.S.? There are multiple reasons. Let's begin with a no-brainer: unemployment and poverty. About 1.5 million veterans still live below the federal poverty level, according to data cited by research organization RAND. No wonder the UN is so behind in its Sustainable Development Goal number 1 and poverty in all its forms everywhere. It doesn't help much if the self-presumed global leaders is not ready to clean up its act. Maybe there's something to learn from how the world's most populous country lifted 800 million people out of poverty. It requires a certain level of statesmanship and leadership to be able to provide for your people. There's little to say of the commoners if the cream of the crop is having trouble making ends meet. According to a survey conducted by the Wounded Warrior Project, a nonprofit organization that aims to provide care programs and services to veterans and their families. Nearly 82% of disabled veterans in the U.S. cited inflation and the rising cost of goods as the primary culprit for their current woes. Now, poverty in the veteran population also warrants attention because of its association with homelessness. Over 460,000 veterans spend more than 50% of their income on rent. The state of veterans with disabilities is even worse. Their employment rate is significantly lower than that of those without disabilities. According to a 2017 fact sheet by ADA National Network, only 32% of veterans who report both an ACS and service-connected disability, and only 37% of those reporting only an ACS disability are employed, compared with over 3/4 of veterans without disabilities. Not only that getting a job is hard for them, even when they find work, their disability sometimes makes it difficult for them to retain it. According to the Census Bureau's current population survey, nearly 3 in 10 disabled veterans say their disability kept them from getting or keeping a job at some point in their lives. This is the story of not just a select few, but many of the 4.9 million veterans, or 27% of all veterans who had a service-connected disability in August 2022, according to a news release by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. You would think that if you served your country, fought for making the world a safer place for the noble mission of promoting freedom and democracy, but unfortunately got into an accident and were unable to work, your country would look after you and your family, right? Or is thank you for your service just enough? These veterans rely heavily on the VA disability benefits, which depends on the level of their service-connected disability rating assigned by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs or the U.S. Department of Defense. Ratings range from 0 to 100% in increments of 10 percentage points depending on the severity of the condition. If they're lucky and their cases are approved, they may get disability compensation, automobile allowance, a clothing allowance, specially adapted housing, or special home adaptation grants, life insurance, veteran readiness, and employment training and education assistance. It is a monthly tax-free benefit provided to veterans who have a disability rating of at least 10%. These disabilities can stem from injuries or diseases that occurred or worsened during active duty or active duty for training. And they can include physical conditions like a chronic knee problem, as well as mental health conditions like PTSD, according to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. And this compensation varies depending on the degree of disability. Now, according to the Veterans Benefits Administration's annual benefits report, 5.4 million veterans received an average of $20,686 in disability compensation in 2022, which is not even enough to cover the yearly living expenses of a common U.S. resident without disability. And still, it's difficult to get these benefits due to systemic challenges. For example, some service-related damages are hard to certify, making it difficult for veterans to obtain financial support. And the volume of unresolved VA disability claims in the U.S. is significant, with over 425,000 pending cases left without a verdict. Of these, roughly 7% of the cases were resolved after an average waiting time of 7 years, according to an analysis of a Stanford research. Now, the Stanford study highlights governance issues marked by rampant errors and a backlog of appeals involving veterans' benefits. Adding to the concerning findings, the report goes on to say that during one quarter in 2016, the estimated 7% of cases considered resolved were not due to positive reasons. Shockingly, these cases were labeled as resolved because the veterans had tragically passed away while still waiting for their claims to be processed. Feel the plight of the Gulf War veteran who's been fighting the VA for more than a decade in this report.
I have days when I have meltdowns, and they're hard. Now stuff don't go away. It don't go away. I put my life on the line for you.
His case has barely budged.
If I haven't moved nowhere in 2 years, would I be alive to see if it do go through?
Almost 60,000 other appeals are in front of him. If you think that's bad, imagine how it feels for those at the back of the line. There are another 140,000 cases behind him.
Typical military, hurry up and wait.
The Gulf War ended decades ago, but the battle continues for him in America. In another such case, a veteran who lost a leg and suffered a brain injury only got a 60% disability rating. Have a look at this report.
Everything in these packets happened at Walter Reed, and they're denying that it was service-related.
Eves is still at Walter Reed Hospital, but would like to come home to his family in Tarpon Springs. U.S. Congressman Gus Bilirakis is now stepping in.
I mean, I know what Levi went through, and, I can tell you he deserves the 100% as far as I'm concerned.
Bilirakis says caseworkers from his office are taking on Eves' situation, a fight Eves intends to document so he can help other veterans who are in the same situation.
To make me appeal it and waste 6 more months, that's like you're giving me a worse fate by making me sit up there for 6 more months and wait for this. So that's what you're hoping, is I just accept it and move on.
The VA also spends money on veterans through the Veterans Health Administration, which is America's largest integrated healthcare system, providing care at 1,321 healthcare facilities, serving 9 million enrolled veterans each year. In addition, the VA life insurance provides $1.2 trillion in coverage to 5.6 million service members, veterans, and their families. Nonetheless, healthcare for returning military service members and veterans has reached an all-time low within the last several years. There are long wait times for veterans to get an appointment to see the doctor. Many veterans die from their ailments before they're able to get an appointment for treatment. And overall healthcare for veterans, both inpatient and outpatient, is in a deplorable state. And it's not just about wait times, but also about covering them up. They're in shambles, but they are, as they say, respected.
And today, on Veterans Day, we honor those who honored our country with its highest form of service.
A few symbolic gestures like the Veterans Day, Memorial Day, or Purple Heart Day do nothing to address the real needs and challenges of these men and women. These are not enough. These are not enough for the veterans who struggle with physical and mental disabilities, who face homelessness and unemployment, who suffer from addiction and PTSD, who are denied proper health care and benefits, who are forgotten and ignored by the government they were willing to put their life on the line for. They deserve better. They deserve to live. All right, that's it for today. If you like our video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm Abby, and see you next time.